morning. It's Monday, December 6th, 2023. My name is Terry Morgan. We are here to practice Xingyi. We have the foundations for Xingyi's 5 elements and the 12 animals that we're going to start reviewing today. The effort to bring together all of the materials and study my notes, all of that is part of what I'm doing with this class. Alright, so I'm going to put the coffee down, we're going to get started. Drink a little bit more. One of the things that I have done is to create several sets of videos that include Xingyi's 5 elements, the 12 animals, a bit about Santibu, the 3 points practice, some of the stepping method, the hand methods. All of this is part of and the foundation for what we're doing in Xingyi practice, right? So the same as with everything else, we have our foundations, we have what we're working on today, and we have what we're working toward. If we are not paying attention to the foundations, if we're not paying attention to the fundamentals when we practice today, whatever we get, whatever comes from today, to take us to what we're going to have next, isn't maybe going to be what we want. Alright, now, I'm going to speak to that directly. I started this morning with a class in mind. This is what I'm going to do today. And we're going to do part of that right now. In the time between my deciding here's what I'm going to do and my being here to do it, I had to go through a couple of things. And that is also part of what I have been teaching. This concept that we're human, that we have feelings, that we have experiences, that we approach things differently at different times in our lives, and I am going to go there. That we look at what we're doing differently depending on our own perspective. So this morning, I started out with, okay, we're going to do Xingyi. All right, yeah, Xingyi does that. Strong. Xingyi has to be strong. There is a part of what we are doing in the art itself that relies on both that inner strength and the outer strength for what we are doing. As I started thinking about my experiences with Xingyi, and when I first started learning some of the classes that I attended in Zhengzhou, some of the classes that Professor Liu taught, private class, some of the classes that he was teaching that I was interpreting for. A lot of history. That caused me to be upset. I was upset. Why am I upset? What happened? Well, this happened, and this, and this, and this, and this, right? And there was a collection of moments in time that I remembered and that I looked at with, some of it was fun and some of it was not. And when I started that process, it was all connected to Xingyi. When I started that process of looking back so that I can bring all of what has been together with what I have today, it upset me. Why? Part of it was some of the experience. Part of it was some of the emotional response. And part of it was my own recognition of what I'm doing. Right? That I know what I'm doing. Here I am. I'm doing this. This is the beginning of the last series that I expect to do on Xingyi. We're getting started. This is just the beginning. And that's why I started looking at where all of my own learning, my practice, where does that come from? How did I get here? So that I have a practice, that I've had the experiences, that I've learned a few things. How did I get here? And where are we going? The goal that I have for this series is to fill in any of the missing pieces in what I have taught, and maybe add a few things to what I have learned, so that there is a complete series that a person could follow from beginning to end. Just, follow all the way through. I'm going to put it that way, because there might be some detours along the way. That is part of this whole concept of being human, recognizing our own humanity, recognizing what happened for me this morning. Part of it, and I am going to talk about it, part of it was that I am feeling generally comfortable and confident about what I'm teaching. I feel pretty good about it. And I was feeling pretty good this morning when I got up. All right, hey, here we go. We're going to do this. Let's go. All right? In much of what I've learned, there was the element, I'm going to say it, I could say it differently, but I'm going to say it this way. There was always the element of humility. That the point at which we start thinking, and this is what I said, I'm going there. The point at which we start thinking, I'm pretty good at this, is the point at which we need to stop and take a look and think, nah, not really. That, and here's why. All right, here's why. When I get up and I start thinking, hey, I'm pretty good at this. All right, here we go. All right. I have just now eliminated the possibility that I'm going to learn something. I'm overconfident. Being confident and being overconfident, not the same thing. That distinction is a pretty fine line. I'm confident. I know what I'm doing. I'm prepared. I've practiced. And I have the presence of mind as well as the practice to bring together whatever it is I'm doing. That's confidence. I'm good at this. I really do know what I'm doing. And I can make it happen. I can. I can do it. I got this. I'm gonna go do this. Notice the difference. The second one is me most of the time. I start to feel that I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. Start to get confident about it. First one. And then I add more. Part of it is my personality. Part of it is that sense of, I think I'm better. Once I start down that path of, I think I'm better, I end up not being better at all. Now, again, there's a fine line between that overconfident, I think I'm better, and the confidence of knowing where I am and how I compare, and being comfortable fundamentally in my own skin. This is who I am. This is my experience. This is what I've done. This is my ability. Other people have looked at my performance and decided that I was doing pretty good. That is part of where that confidence comes from. Not that I've decided that I stood up here in my own little room here and decided that I'm pretty good at this. It's that I've had the experience of literally being judged by others, so that when someone else is looking at what I'm doing, I can have a reference point, my own, as well as theirs. Say, well, I think I did that reasonably well, because this was done, this and this and this and this. Not because I feel like I did it. Hey, I feel great, I did that. No, because I know what it should feel like, I know what I did, and I know how it's supposed to feel. How do I know that? Because someone taught me that. And I practiced it. And then I look for feedback. I said, tell me, is this true? Is this correct? Am I doing this right? Is this the principle that I should be applying? Look at this, look at that, look over here, look over there. Bring it all into the center, and then evaluate it. Then you can look at it and say, well, I'm comfortable with this. Yeah, I can do a little bit better. I'm good at this. I'm pretty good at this. That acknowledgement is not in and of itself overconfidence. Knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at is how you gain the confidence, that real world confidence of knowing what I can do, knowing what I can't do. And not allowing whatever I can do to take precedence, so that I forget all of the things that I can't do. Hey, I can do this. Hey, but there's some stuff you can't do. That's the confidence that comes from knowing both and being able to bring it together. This sense of placement, confidence, overconfidence, balance is the foundation for all of our practice. If we don't have that, if we can't find that, if we don't work toward that balance, We will go in one direction or another. We will either become questioning to the point of not being able to practice well. Oh, did I do that well? Did I do that right? I don't know. Did I? Right? Or we become this overconfident, I'm doing this perfectly and there's nothing, right? We don't want either one of those. We want the middle. We want the one in the middle that says, well, I know there could be things I could do better. There's some things I did well. There's some things I do pretty well. And I recognize that not only could I do some of these things better, but there are other people who can do them better than me. Now, I may be able to do some things better than them, right? That balance right here, Xingyiquan. That's part of what we have to work for in that one stance, in that practice that includes, and I'm going to do this while we talk about it. So, right foot back, right toes on 45. Left heel to the right heel. Move the foot forward 1 and 2. Pull it back slightly. Right foot, bend the knee 65 degrees to the floor. 60% of the weight on the back leg. Front leg, 115 degrees, angle the knee to the floor. 40% of the weight. Open the hip, set the legs. We're going to stay here for a while. We're going to stay here for a while. Left hand front, at the same height as the middle dantian. Right hand back, at the same height as the lower dantian. Left palm extend outward through the lao. Connect the yongchuan in the foot. Pull up through the back. Both hands on the same line. So look at my fingers. And turn. Okay? Pull this back just a little bit. Stay there. Not going anywhere. Center. Pay attention to the lower dantian. Pull everything in and through the lower dantian. Use the breath. Make any minor adjustments you need to make so that your weight is well distributed. The tip of the tongue should touch the roof of the mouth. The neck spine should be straight. Sink. Keep the hips open. Pull up through the huiyin. Relax the breath. And straight. All right, relax for a minute. We're going to the other side. This practice brings everything in and asks us to focus inwardly We're not doing anything outwardly. Other side. Left foot back, right foot front, right hand front. Right hand at the middle tunjian. Again, both hands on the same line. Center line to the body. Lower hand to the lower tunjian. Both hands press out, not down. Okay, just didn't look down, because that way, out. Set the wrist. Check your legs. Open the hip. Check your neck spine. Make sure your back's pulled up straight. Shoulders down and relaxed. The side that is front, so in this case my right side, there is a slight, very slight, turn in the hip to that front leg, okay? Very slight. It's not over here, okay? So you don't want the hip to pull back in that leg, right? I'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute. Yeah, literally, we're going to be here for another minute. Smile, breathe. Focus on what you need to do to remain in the stance and relax any tension that would affect your ability to remain in the stance. So your muscles get a little bit tight through the hip. That's going to affect your ability to keep your balance through the hip. You have to release that and use the leg instead. Just another few seconds. Breathe. Alright, come on up. That standing practice. In my foundation work, 5 minutes. At the point that I had started that practice, I had already been studying Tai Chi and Bagua for a few years. I had not started Bagua. I had started Bagua. I started Bagua in 92. Okay, so the practice that I started with Xingyi was after I had learned several other things. So I was already aware of my standing. I was already aware of my balance placement. The position of the legs was different than Tai Chi. Tai Chi, I have 60% on the front, 40 on the back. The front leg is straight to the floor, so I don't want to overextend so much. I can bring it up to the toe, but not really over. I don't really want to go over the toe. If I'm going to extend, I want to extend my stance and use the back leg. That skill and moving through all of the various postures was something that I brought to my Xingyi practice. So as we start, we need to pay, this is again, I'm starting this whole other series where I'm reviewing my own Xingyi development, my own learning, and what I've already recorded. So this idea that I had these foundations that I started with when I started learning Xingyi. Part of it was good, part of it was not. I tended to use my Tai Chi step instead of Xingyi step. I tended to keep my weight forward over my front leg as I would do in Tai Chi instead of back as I need to do in Xingyi. These differences were something that I had to address as I was learning. Whatever you may have learned, or nothing, right, is what you bring to what you're learning now. So, as you pay attention to that, it's not, well, I can't do that, blah, 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 this is what you have. It's what you have. It's not going to change, it's what you have. What you want to do is develop the skill to take that and bring it into what we're doing with Xingyi. In Xingyi stepping, we have, and I'm just going to leave my hands here for a second. All right, so the stance is Santiago. Our step, 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 close. That step is different than I can't do it. I can't do it. Alright, hang on a second. Alright, I'm here. This is Xingyi. Step. Right? Foundation steps for Xingyi. Different than a walking step, right? Just plain walking step. That's all I did was walk. We have that idea, just kind of walking, as part of what we want in our practice. That classics say we meet the opponent as if walking. That there's no bluster, there's no just, hey, no, you don't want it. You just don't want it. Alright? That concept is part of what we want to incorporate, but as we are developing those skills, we need to pay attention to what we are doing in our foundation work. So if I'm thinking about this stepping method, I'm not really thinking about Xingyi. I'm not really thinking about my intent, what goes behind the movement. It's not Xingyi. If I am doing that, I'm not really thinking about anything. I can't even get to Tai Chi really with that. Okay? I can't. It's a low walking step. Not a bad thing. It's a good practice method. It's not Xingyi step. In all of the elements that step and close the back foot, right? That stepping method is what we use. It does a couple of things that are part of what we want to develop in expressing strength. I talked about that previously in Xingyi, with the idea that, I'll show this. All right, right hand, bone chuan. And I'm just going to just real lightly, bone chuan. Okay? If I do that, you can see the movement. It's okay. It's not really what I should do. That's what I should do. Right? Bumtron? That extension is what I should be paying attention to. No. Not only do we not express sound, we don't. It's there in other arts, but we don't do that. We want the internal expression, not the external expression. Right? So, no. That last one, my facial expression, no. No. Alright? The concept that I talked about just a minute ago, meet your opponent as if walking, doesn't have that expression. It doesn't. We don't know. Alright, the same, all of what I just did with that awful expression, it was on my arm. I didn't have any connection through the body. I didn't have any connection with any energy. It was all from here out. Let me do this punch. Let me do this punch. I'm not extending anything. I'm going at something. That difference versus, and I'm not sure if it's as clear as I would like it to be, but I'm going to try that again. Go this way. I'm hoping that you can see the difference. The first one is here, the second one is from my arm. That is something that we have to pay attention to, and it's one of the foundation practices that comes from Xingyiquan, right here. This connection, if we're paying attention to that, the internal workmanship is naturally developed. It's not an over-reliance on external strength and physical ability. It's much more a reliance on that internal energy and what we can do with it. That idea that we have the capacity to do more than body size and weight would seem to be apparent, or would be apparent from body size and weight, is part of that internal practice. It's not a separate thing. So if and I'm beating up on this a lot because I need to, if I only use my arm, I got nothing. I got a little arm, I got short arm, I don't lift weights. I probably could, should, but I don't. I tried, it didn't happen. Alright, that recognition, arm is not that strong, right? My left arm is not as strong as my right, so if I'm going to throw a punch, I'm tend to throw with my right hand. That is something that is obvious to anybody who might see me practice. It shows. It's, if I was a boxer, my opponent's coach would be looking at that and saying, look, watch your right hand over here. Watch your right hand. Alright, so I don't often throw a punch in my left hand. It's alright. It was external. It relied on the twist in my hip to extend any force. Yeah, that was better. That was much better connected. And that's what I'm getting at, is that connection through the whole body as we're paying attention to whatever it is we're doing in whichever art we're practicing, in this case Xingyi, and developing the skill so that as we're paying attention to the 5 elements, the 5 punches, we're not just punching from the shoulder, we're not punching from the arm, it's the whole body that goes forward. Here. This comes down not just with the hands, it's the whole body, right? That internal connection as we move, the placement, the way that I just moved, right? That is characteristic for Xingyi. Xingyi goes forward. It goes. Well, we go backward too, but Xingyi is going. That is different than Tai Chi. Tai Chi has that ebb and flow to it. So, well, I'm going this way, but maybe I'm going to come back this way. Oh, well, I think I'm going this way, but now I'm going to come back. Right? We've got that flow that we want in Tai Chi. That's the nature of Tai Chi. That is not the nature of Xingyi. Xingyi is going. Being centered, being well placed through the body, being centered and well placed through the mind. That's part of the lesson today. Being centered and well placed through the emotional body. So, not overconfident, I'm not so self-critical that I can't do anything, right? I find that balance, I find that center that says, you know, I could learn a few things. I've done pretty well. Bring that together so that what I'm doing today helps move forward what I want for tomorrow. Not move me backward. I want to move me forward. That sense of collecting what's been done in the past, bringing it together in the present, and then using that to define what we're going to do next has been what I've talked about in all of the foundation classes that I've been teaching, and it is the foundation for what we want to pay attention to in any practice. This class, I covered Santi Bu. We stood there for a minute or so. I covered the basic ideas behind Xingyi, that we're moving, we're going forward, that we want to have physical strength, but not exclusively physical strength. We need to add our internal strength to whatever it is we're doing physically. Otherwise, the movement is not complete. Paying attention to the center, paying attention to using the energy in the lower dantian, paying attention to those connections, is the foundation for what we're going to be doing in all of the other classes, and it's fundamental for all of Xingyi practice. I this series is going to be useful and add more to what I've already done, as well as give me the opportunity to learn a few things. I learned a few things this morning. Thank you for helping me with that. I appreciate it. And thank you for being there. I appreciate that too. I'll be back tomorrow with Tai Chi.